Hello and welcome to taik18. I'm Mohammed Adnan, and in this video we are going to discuss about how we can use Power Automate. We have an example of 10 examples here in this video so that you can get aware of multiple functionalities of Power Automate and where you can use those functionalities. It's a really good series on this video. Please watch this video till the end so that you can get more clarity about this one. If you're new to this channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, just click on the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to get the latest notifications. I have seen on my YouTube analytics that almost 90% of my viewers are not my subscribers. I really request you all to subscribe to my channel so that I can get more reach and I can get more views on that. It really helps me a lot to boost my YouTube journey. Thank you. So let me share my screen now and then I'll share you this Power Automate. Okay, so as you have seen this Power Apps video where we start with the solutions, how we need to do everything. Similar thing here also, I am into my environment and also under solutions, I have created one solution here, which is Power Automate training one. Here I have a list of things which is inside to this solution. There are 16 here, which is basically, you can see it here as a Cloud Flow 11 and connection reference as 5. So there are totally 10 operations which we are going to do here. I mean 10 kind of tutorials. So we'll go one by one here. So the first thing what we can do here is we'll just take an example of time tracker. So there are certain resource file is also available. If you need, please let me know. I will add it into a shared folder so that you can download and reuse that. Or also I will add the description on this video so that you can download it from there. All right, so we'll just talk about this time tracker, and before to that, we'll just take an example of the files which we have. So for example, if we have this office file, all right, so this is an Excel file where we need to create an Excel file, and inside to that, we can just create 4 different columns where, who, when, and comment. So this is basically is just to track the time. You can make use of this using SharePoint list. Here I'm using an Excel file, which is on online MS Office. So you need to create a 4 columns like this. And then on the top menu, you need to go to insert and you need to click on table. So once you click on that, this will convert these 4 columns into a table. For example, if I add it here, where who, just 2 columns. And if I select these 2 and insert and then click on table, then it is asking to create a table. Yeah, my table has header and then click on OK. So this will basically create this as a table, and also you will see a new icon, which is the table design. So if you click on that, this is the name of your table. You want to rename that, you can rename it from here. So that's it. We have to work here on the Excel file, and the balance we can do it on Power Automate. So I will just Control Z here so that we can just use only these 4 things here. So let me edit this flow here, which is the time tracker one. And if I click here, it will open up in a new window. And let's edit this here. So basically how you can create flows in Power Automate solution is the same process where, let me just click here. If you need to go to your solution like we did in Power Apps, and then under Cloud Flow, you need to click on new. And then here you have automation, and then you have a Cloud Flow. And after that, we have automated flow, instant flow, scheduled flow. So these are all the flows which we are going to use in this tutorial. So if you edit this flow, you see this is a manually triggered flow where we have see this option here and an instant cloud flow. This is what I created here. So whenever user click on this one, then it will open up on their mobile about this one, manually trigger a flow so that they can use your app in their mobile, iOS or Android. When they click this button, then it will capture the location and time as well and enter into this Excel file. So when you use this one, and the next thing here, you need to click add and add an action. And here you need to use add files to the table. So for this, you need to use Excel Online Business as a kind of connector. And inside to that, you can see add a row into the table. The bottom you see, this is an add a row into the table. So once you click on that, it will open up a window here like this. And here you need to select your location. It will be a drop down. You need to select your location and you need to select your library, and then you need to select your file. So this is where I have this one. And after selecting this Excel file, when you click on this drop down, it will give you the list of available tables inside to this one. So without creating a table, this will not work. So that's why I mentioned earlier, you need to create a table in the Excel file. So once you click on the table, this will populate automatically all the fields here, where, who, when, comment, which is actually the columns available on the table in the Excel file. So for this, you need to click on this text box space here. And then if you scroll down, then you will see these many options coming up here. Manually trigger a flow. There you have this option about all the things, which is full address, username, converted date time, and comment. So that's the kind of default column which is comes up here. So we can utilize those columns inside to this one. So we have used here as a full address, and also we have used the username from this one, which is here username, and then we also use the comment as an additional column, which is here we have added a comment here. So when you manually trigger a flow, we should give the option to the user to enter something else. So how we can do is basically when we add this instant cloud flow, then this will be a blank option. You need to click on add an input. When you click on that, you have these multiple options. Here I used here as a text option. If you want to use add yes or no Boolean operation, or if you want to capture the email ID, you want to enter some date or number, you can also do that. So the same comment which is used here on this section here. Now I use here another option, which is the converted time zone. The reason for that is basically because of the Excel file. If you see this data which is on the Excel file, the first two rows which is showing up here, it's showing in a different format, and the next one it is showing up in a different format, which is 9:35 a.m. and here is 9:31 a.m. And then so that's the reason I used here to convert the date and time into a different format. So for this, we need to click again on the plus sign after this manually triggered flow, and you need to look for convert time zone. That's the kind of connection which we have, I mean connector, and convert, right? Okay, convert. So we have an option here to date and time, a connector where we have option to convert time zone. So if you click on that convert time zone, this will open up like this. Here I'm capturing the time zone from this menu, the same way how we did for the Excel one. And after that, we need to select few things, which is what is the date format which you want. So I want this to be general date time. It has a multiple date time format, but I selected here to be this one. I need the complete date time with second and AM and PM. So that's the thing. And the time zone currently by default, if you are taking the default which comes up from Power Automate, it is usually the UTC time zone. And then I'm from India, so I need to take it from this time zone. So this will take that time and then convert the time zone on this format. And I used here this convert time zone inside to this when, and here we have converted time zone. I use this option here. So once you click on that, then you need to open up on your mobile, or you can also use it from directly here on the web as well. So right now I'm not sharing my mobile, so that's why I'm using it from here, run. So if I click on that, then this is loading here. So it is asking for me the comment. Okay, that's what we have, asking a user to give an input here. So out of office, I mean on business work he is out, and if I click on run flow, so this is now running. If I refresh it here, so it is now succeeded here. So let's go back and have a look into that Excel file. A new row has been added. Yeah, if you look into here, it is Adnan, which is I'm from Ambur, and showing up here. And this is the data and time which is captured here, and on business work, the comment is also added here. So this is how you can easily capture your office colleagues. If they are going somewhere for out of office work, then they can capture the time zone here. Even though this is an Excel file, but if you want to do it on the SharePoint list, or if you want to use it on a SQL server, you can also use the same way. But only difference will be the connection here, which we have used. Instead of Excel, we need to use the SQL connection or the SharePoint list connection over here. Yeah, like this. You can see it here. It is showing up here as an Excel file. Instead of this, you need to use the other connections. That's the difference here. So now we have learned about how we can convert the time zone and how we can insert a record into an Excel file using a manually triggered flow that actually captures the current location of your employee and as well as your current destination. I mean the time zones as well. So that's really helpful to capture the location and everything. Yeah, one important thing here. So when you initially run this flow, this will ask you to capture your location. That is the most important thing here. So if I go back now, and then if I click on run this flow again, and you see on the top actually an icon is appeared here, which is this site access your location, right? This is the important thing. So if you are capturing the current address which is coming on this flow, it is actually capturing your current location. So right now I'm into Ambur, so that's why it is showing me Ambur. If your employee is somewhere else, then you want them to capture the time zone. Then if they click on the Power Automate flow in their app, then this will automatically ask initial first time itself, it will ask you for the location. If they have given the location access, then it will capture the location, or else it will not flow. The flow will not work here. It will throw an error for you. And for example, if I click here and I will just always block here and then done. And if I want to enter here, work and run flow, then this time this will not work here. And let me run this here. Yeah, this is work because we initially started to work on it, so it captured the location. Now, if I rerun again, you see it has given a message here, location service must be enabled to run this flow. So that's an important thing. You need to enable this location. This is, I'm working on my desktop here, I mean my laptop, so that's why it is showing up this message. But on a mobile device also you will get the same error message. You need to enable, it will open up a pop-up window, then you need to enable that location. Then everything will work fine as beginning. All right, we have seen this one, and the next thing what we can do here is we'll take an example of travel expenses approval. If I click on that, this will also open up a new window. Okay, basically what is the requirement for this is if an employee wants to get an approval for their expenses, how they can. So what we have built here, we have built a SharePoint list, and employee can use to enter the requirement into the SharePoint list. So once they entered the expenses, then it will go for an approval. And once it is approved, it will give the status of approved or reject kind of thing. So that's the process here. And for this, all right, let's edit this flow first, and then we'll see the other things later. So this is the new designer UI which is showing up here. And you see on the top, you can see new designer. This actually looks good. And first thing here, when an item is created here. So this is basically a SharePoint list which is showing up here, travel expenses tracker. So let's go back to this one. This is under communication side. Actually, I need to open up a different side. So let's copy this one and open a new tab, paste here. So I need to duplicate this tab. Under SharePoint, I have two SharePoint here. One is communication side, another is Power Platform training. So I'm just switching between these two. So here, if I go to the SharePoint site and in my list, it is not showing up here, but actually we have it here, travel expenses tracker one. If I click on this one, so how you can create a list basically, if you click on this plus sign, then you have option here list. So once you click on that, this will open up a new window where either you can select it from a default template. There are multiple templates available here. Either you can select it from multiple existing template, or you can start from your blank template here. So when you click on blank template, it will ask you for the name here. You can just give it a name, and you can also set up your description, color, and icon, and where you want to save this one here, and click on create. So once you click on create, by default, this will comes up with one single column, which is title here. And if you want to add another more columns, you can just need to click on add columns, and then you can select from these different multiple columns which you have, and then you can click on next, and then that's it. So that's how you can able to create multiple columns here. This is similar to creating a table in a database or creating a column in an Excel file if you're coming from SQL or Excel background. So similarly, I did here the title, which I kept it as default, and I just added here amount as a currency column, and the status I just use here as a text column. So I click here, we have an option here text, which is first one, and the next here I added here as a currency column. That's it. So I just shared this SharePoint list to the user. So user just come up here and then click on new record, and they can enter a record here. So I will just add here food and enter amount, which is $100, and the status I don't have access to this one, so I just click on save. So now this has entered a value here, and then actually what this is what we have used here when an item is created here. So this is actually a flow. How we can create this flow is basically if I come up here and then if I click on new, automation, cloud flows, and then automated cloud flow. So once you click on that, then this will open up a window where it is asking about how you want to automate this one. So choose your flow trigger, right? So when an item is created here, this is what I selected here during that time. Even if you have not selected this one, then also you can select from this window itself. So here I need to give an option about from which item, which list I need to select when it is created. So here I used here as an option, which is Power Platform Training. I used here this list name. So that's it. We don't need to do any other thing, even though we have multiple options here, but we don't need it here. So I selected here the site address and the list name. And the next thing here, I need to click here, add an action. And then we have this approval here. If I click on this one, we have multiple things here, create an approval, start and wait for an approval, start and wait for an approval of text, and then wait for an approval. We just need to start and wait for an approval. So once you click on that, this will open up this one, add this step here. So here we have to select multiple things. So let me zoom this a bit. Here we have approval type where we need to select approve, reject, everyone must approve. If it is shared with multiple people, then everyone has to approve or not, or only the first one can respond. So I used here as the first to respond. And the next what we have custom response, wait for all responses. And what we have here, wait for one response. So I used here as the first to respond. And then we can type here as the customized text here, which is please approve the following expenses. And after that, I have it here as assigned to. I used here to multiple people so that anyone can approve to this one. So even though it is assigned to Adnan and also to mohammadadnant@gmail.com, anybody can assign to this one. And after that, I have it here, the detail section where it is fully customizable. I can add it anything here. So I used here the destination and amount are requested by. So here I can just change this instead of destination, we can just modify the purpose. So as the title here. So flight is the one and another is used here the food for this one. So here how we can generate is basically we can type some text here and after that adding a space. You have this option here, the current symbol. If you use the old flow, then you can just refer to my old videos where you can use this old option. But going forward, this is the designer will come up. So we need to use this one. Here either we can use our functions or we can use the existing fields from the table. So I just click here on this icon, lightning icon, and then it will give the list of available things here, which is the columns available on the table of the SharePoint list. So this is I selected here as a title, which is showing up here, body/title. And the same thing I used here, body/amount and also body/the display name. So the display name is basically I've taken it from the same thing, author display name. And you see, even though we added just 3 columns, title, amount, and status, but behind the scene, it has almost 36 more columns. If you click on more, then it will be created this column. This is actually the default column which created by Microsoft in the SharePoint list itself. So it is used for internal purpose, and that's how we are using it here with the same thing here. How when it is created, when it is modified, and other thing. So we can make use of those things here. So that's one thing. And the next thing here we need to use as a kind of advanced parameters where we have option enable notification or enable reassignment. So if you want to use that, we can also use this. So we want to notify this to the other users. So that's the reason. And if I zoom out now, and the next thing what we have it here is conditions. So why it is the condition here? So I will just send an approval to these email IDs, these 2 email IDs here, and then we'll wait for an approval. So based on the response from the email, whether they have approved or rejected, we need to make further steps. So here the condition is basically we are used here as an AND condition, which is AND. And here if you click on this one and then click on lightning action, so you will see this option start and wait for an approval. That's a step here. And here you need to select the output. So what is the output from that one? So usually the output is approve or reject. It is not approved or rejected. It is approve or reject. That's the default naming standard which it has added here on this flow. So is equal to approve, then it is true. If it is reject, then it is false. So that's what we have mentioned here. So I used here the true for this one. If it is true, then it will update an item into this SharePoint list to be as approved or if it is rejected. So for this, in the true area, even if you add the condition, then it will just give you this one condition true or false. In the condition, I am setting up this value, which is outcome is equal to approve. And here in this one true value, I just click here add. I'll add an action. I need to use here a SharePoint update. So here we have update file update. So here we have update file update item here. I used here update item for this so that it can add information here. So if I click on this one, here also I need to provide the same thing, which is the site address or platform site address, and I need to give the list name and the body here. So I just use here ID reference. If I click here and then click on lightning icon, I need to take the ID from the list which is coming on the first one, which is when an item is created here, right? So from this step, I need to take the ID. So I taken this ID here, and then I need to, if you click on show all, this will give the list of available columns which we created here. I don't want to update any of the field. I just want to update on the status column, which is approved here. The same step I did for the false statement, and here I instead of approve, I used here to be rejected here. That's the difference here. And after that, out of this condition, I used here to send an email. So once this is approved or rejected, I need to send an email to the user. So for this, I used here as a Gmail connector, but I don't have Office 365, so that's the reason I'm not using it here. But you can use your Office 365, or if you have some other tool, some other email, then you can also use that. So if I click on this one, it's going to same thing, add an action here, and then you have a default mail options. You have Office 365, and also you have others providers here as well. I used here as a Gmail. So once I click on that, I need to provide few information, which is to whom you want to send. And you can also take this from your requested by option. If I click here, and here if I scroll down, we have an item is created here, right? So see more, you can take it from created by email. So this is going to take the email ID of the user, so you can send directly to them. That's how you can also do that. And here we have multiple options. In the email, usually we have a CC, BCC, and the importance of this email, and also the subject. So here I kept the subject as to be dynamic here. Usually I can use two connection here. You can use the true one email and false also another. I mean, approve one email and reject one email. But I use here some little calculation here, the expression, so that we can use one single step here, and we can reuse that. So your request has been, that's the default text, approve or reject, it is showing up here. So how it has done is basically, I just click on the FX icon here. So once I click on that, it has opened up into the functions area. And here I use this option. If is basic logical thing, if, and here usually how we do things here, if A is equal to, we use the equal to symbol, and B, then it is true or it is false. That's how the logical things here. But in Power Automate, it's a little bit different. So first you need to give if and then open bracket. That's the usual thing. And here we need to use the equal sign. So before we need to mention about whether this is equal or not. Inside to this, we need to pass two of them, which is actually the output from this approval of this outcome. And then we need to give a standard value, which is approved, a static value. If the outcome is approved, then we need to use this as an approved. If it is not, then it is showing as reject here. So now these are all standard, I mean, static thing which I manually typed here. Now you must think about how I have come across with this one, right? That's a good question. So to do this, basically, how I did basically, if I go to conditions here, now I'm going to the previous step. If I click on the condition, if I click on the condition, the new designer actually helps me to do this one. And here we have parameter, settings, code view, about. So if I click on code view, then here you see it has given an option here is equals output start and wait for an approval, and then question mark body comma outcome. So I copied this and then come here, send an email, and here also in the parameters, into the functions, I just pasted here. You see it is showing the same thing, output start wait for approval, question mark body, and then outcome. That's an easy way. So you can do that. But previously, in the old designer, how I actually used to do it, I used to run this flow, and then in the output, it will show you the same thing. I just copy this one and then redo it here. So that's a two different process I need to do, but here it's simplified. So I like the new designer here. All right, so I used here, it will give me the result as an approved or reject based on the outcome here. And also we can customize the body here. We can also make use of this information now. So let's go to Power Automate Flow and see if there are any approval waiting for me or not. If I am an approver here, then I should get an email on my login. If it is not, then I need to use my other colleagues so that they can get an approval for this. Usually, if you are on Power Automate desktop, then on the left side you see they have approval menu. If you click on that, then you will see the list of approval which is waiting for you, and see it is showing up today's date. Either you can approve or reject the thing here. And before do this, let me show you it here. It is still showing as a blank here. And then if I click on commit now, then it is asking me to approve or reject here. So I need to select approve here, and it is approved. So I just use here enjoy and then click on confirm. Even though this is not going to add the information, and I mean which is not visible here, but if I go back to the flow now, I mean in the SharePoint list, this will take a little bit time. And even if meanwhile if I go to my flow, which is basically the travel expense approval, if I click here, then this will give me the history of that. So it is now succeeded here. And if I go back here, and also you see the value is approved here on this column. Automatically it is updated here. And this is food is $100 approved for this. And being an, I has also sent an email, right? So if I open up my email, then I should also see the email which comes up from the Power Automate for me. I use my Gmail ID here. So let's have a look into my Gmail here. Yeah, you see your request has been approved, which is just received 1 minute ago. Your request has been approved. So that's the message, conditional message, it comes up here. So this is how you can you can build your travel expense tracker on your company so that you can use SharePoint list. And using Power Automate, it will be a simplified process. So you don't need to go and wait for an approval. You can just go and do your stuff and then just request it through Power Automate, and then you can wait for an approval for this. So for an advanced level, you can just use also to scan the image of the expense, like the bills of the hotels and flight tickets kind of thing. And you can upload those documents as well. But this will be a kind of further step ahead. We will see this in the future videos. Okay. So the next thing here, we can talk about important email alert. So now, let's say, for example, you are on a vacation or you are on holidays and you don't want to read all the emails, office emails, which you are getting on a regular basis. If you're getting 50 or 100 plus emails on a regular basis, then you will be not interested to read all of them if you're on vacations. But if you want to receive only your important email as an alert, if it is from your CEO or if it is from your manager or your team lead kind of thing, then it will be helpful for you to use these options. So for this, you need to use your, as the same thing. If I click on this one, you need to click on a Power Automate flow. From there, you can configure that. So here also I have used here as a new email arrives kind of thing, but you can also use your Office 365 for this. And it is also basically what I can say, it's an automated cloud flow. So if automation, cloud flow, and automated cloud flow. So when an email arrives, so that's what it is. If you click on this one, automated one, then it will open up a new window here. Now I can just type here as a Gmail. Then when a new email arrives, so this is what I selected here. So once I click on that, it will open up this window. Here I need to select few parameters as per my need. So what I mentioned here is, here you can just click on show all. You can also see the options here. If it is two for you, that's a easy one. If you want to get an email alert only for certain people, then you can mention their email ID here. Or if the subject contains this exclamation mark, you want to get an alert notification on your mobile, then you can use this option. If the mail has marked as an important, then you want to read that email, send a notification, then you can also use this option. Other things are default. If you want to make the selection, you can make as per your need. So based on these selections, then you have an option here. If you click on the plus sign and add an action, and here notification. If you type this connector, then you have a send me an email notification or send me a mobile notification. Here in this case, email notification doesn't apply because you want to read an email itself. Why you want to get an email notification for that? So you need to have a mobile notification. If you are using a Power Automate on your mobile, then you will get a notification on your Power Automate mobile. I will also attach a screenshot how it will look like, so that you can get aware of that. So once you do so, then this will add a new connector here, and this will have an information about we can customize based on our need. So what I did here, you have received an email from. If you click here and then click on lightning icon, this will give the list of available fields which we can pick from the new email arrives. The from option we have, and the subject, it is coming from the subject here. So we get two information here. So if we get an alert kind of thing, we have received an email from this person about this subject, then we'll see on their Power Automate flow whether this is important to read here, even though we got notification as an important, but for you, maybe it is not important at that time. So you can just review it here, and then if you want to ignore, you can ignore that. Or if you want to open your Outlook, you can open your Outlook manually and then see your email for this. So this is how you can easily enjoy your vacation as well as mark your important email so that you cannot miss your important emails. I hope this will be useful for you in your regular activities. So you make sure to add this flow. So now we look for a task overview. So this is basically helpful not only for the task as well as for your document as well. If a document were to be expired, then you need to send an alert, receive an email alert beforehand, or even the today's alert as well. So for this, you need to click here as a kind of scheduled flow to open up this app or automate flow. So reoccurrence. So for this, how you can do, basically, you just need to click on new automation cloud flow, and then we have a scheduled cloud flow. So once you click on that, this will open up a new window. So this will ask you about when you want to do this one. You want to repeat this as every day, month, week, or seconds. So basically, it can be every day, so that you can run this flow and then get aware of the information what you need. So once you click give the name and then click on period, this will open up a window like this, reoccurrence. So it's used here as a 1 day. It will be scheduled on every 1 day. And after this, I used here to pick a row from the existing table. So here I have a table which is coming from a task table. So if I open up this task, for example, these are the tasks which I have. Right now I'm using Excel as a kind of task management here. If you are using some other tool like SQL, you can also make this as SQL backend for this one. So here I have a task and then status and the email of that person and also the deadline of the person. So who is in charge of this one and who you want to email them. So this is just a dummy email ID here. We can make use of this. All right. So here we need to select the where location it is. It is in a SharePoint communication site and it's under document, and this is Excel file task, and this is the table name, task table 1. So if I click on show all, then we have multiple things here where we can use these options. But I used here in the filter query. So in the filter query, we have a status, which is the column name. NE is basically stand for not equal to. This is an O data filter. If you see also on the box here, an O data filter query to restrict entries returned. So when this runs, this will actually also apply the filter, and then it will just take only those columns which is based on the filter here. So status not equal to done. This will pick only those columns which is not equal to done here. So that's a good thing. So after that, I just used here. But first of all, how we need to get this is list rows present in the table. So we need to click on add here and then add an action. Here, if you just use here list rows present in a table. So you can use the Excel online here because that's what we are used here. So list rows present in a table, it will show up this one. And after that, we need to add and initialize a variable, which is basically if there are multiple tasks pending for that particular day, then we need to show it on a list. We cannot send the list into a text format, so we need to capture it in an array. So that's why we need to click here at the plus icon and add an action, and then we need to select initialize a variable. If you open up this one, then this will give us this option, name, type, and value. So name, it is customizable. We can give it our name here. And under type, we have multiple things, which is Boolean, integer, flat, string, object, or array. So here it is a continuous number of values. So it's an array. So that's what we need to select here as an array. All right. So once you do so, then here we need to use apply to all, which is from this Excel file. So the initialize variable has to be declared above to the apply to each, because we cannot initialize a thing in the loop. Actually, we have to be create an initialize variable before to the loop option. right? So after that, I just use here add an action, and then we have it here apply to all. In the control section, we have apply to each here. So even if you have not used this apply to each, but still if you use here as a condition and then used here as a deadline in this one, the deadline which is coming from the column of this Excel file. You can see it here, the deadline, which is if you click on see more, then you see here deadline. Okay. So once you click on that, then this will automatically apply the apply to each. It is not mandatory for you to do first apply to each and then condition. But if you want to do that, then also it's fine, totally fine. If you click on this apply to each and then this option here into select body or value, then it will apply whatever we have it on the table with the filtered value. All right. If the condition here, what is the condition? The deadline is less than or equal to, I have used here format option. So you see, I'm not only actually covering the concept, I'm also using the options, whereas things here and also the functions. So here the deadline which is showing up here, we have a deadline on the Excel file as a regular format, date, time with the date here. But usually when we want to compare a date from this function, the UTC now, it actually comes with the date and time as well. So we need to format this date and time into our desired format. So I used here format date and time. This is the function name, and UTC now is also function name. It will return the current UTC time. I'm just formatting this into date, month, and year. I'm just neglecting all the time, hour, and seconds here, right? So that's the format I used here. If it is less than to the deadline, then I want to add that into an array. So I want to capture all the tasks which is already overdue in today's date, right? So that only we need to use here. So for example, if you are monitoring this for your document management and you want to get an alert 1 month earlier, then in the format option, if you click here, you need to use here as one more function, which is add days. And then you need to, I'm going to cover that in other video on this one. You need to use add days function, and then you need to specify how many days you want to be alert for this one, like 30 days, 1 week, or 1 day kind of thing. So that's it. So here I used here to be append a variable now in the true section of the condition. If it is true, which is less than the current date, then I need to append into a variable, I mean array. For this, I can just click alt sign and add an action. Here also I can just use here as a variable. Inside a variable, we have multiple things. If I click on see more, we have append to array variable. That's the first thing. We have append to array variable. That's the first thing. And then other parts also we have increment value, initialize variable, set value kind of thing. Those are all for static thing. And this is for adding, appending the value to this one. So I did here, and here I selected the initialized variable, which is on the top of this one. So I used here, and after that it is totally customizable. So I start to convert this into a JSON format so that we can use it into an HTML and send an email to the user. So here one curly bracket open and close here, and inside to that we can add the columns in the double quotes with a colon symbol here. So that's for task. And then if I click on this space, and you need to click on lightning symbol, so click here, then you will get the list of available columns from this list rows present in a table. That's an Excel file. So I picked it here one by one, which is a task, status, in charge, and deadline kind of thing, and that's it. So this is going to take that filtered value from this flow, I mean this step, and then apply to each. It will add those values into this array, append the value, and outside of this apply to each, I used here create a HTML table. So here you can add an action, and you can type it here HTML, because I want to show entire thing into an email subject, email body here. So if you click on HTML, then you should see here in the data operations, you have a create HTML table. So that's what I did here, create HTML table. And here from, you just need to click on the lightning symbol and select the variable which you have created here, which is where task is. So here, if you click on show all, then you have a columns to be automatic, or you want to customize. If you want to customize, then you can click here, customize, and you need to specify here as a task, and then click here, and you need to click on functions, and then you need to specify the column name. So that's the tedious process. As we have a smooth thing here, so we can just use this to be automatic itself. So change it here to be automatic, and that's it. All right. So then if you click on the next step, which is send an email, here again I'm using the same Gmail ID here. So click on the plus sign, add an action, and then send an email. And here you can see the Gmail option. send email. Yeah, this is what I selected here. So selected here as a send email. Here also I need to specify the name of the to address. You can also specify, you can have multiple columns, the manager column, you can take it from that option, or also further I will also cover something, you can also make use of that. So here you can give a subject which is your customized subject task overdue, and here you can also customize your message. Below are the task overdue, and here if you click here on the lightning icon, then you need to pick it from the HTML table which is output here. So once you click on that, then if you run this flow, then you will send and receive an email. So once you done with this one, and this is going to run on everyday regular basis, so that you can get an email alert for this. You see, this is the task which I received, and for example, this user has a task, this one, and then status, and who is in charge of this one, and what is the deadline for the user. So this is the email which I got from this, and this is how it will be look like for you. If you want to customize this thing, then you can also customize the output and everything. So similar concept, you can make use of your document management as well. If the document got expired, in advance, you want to alert like passport, we need to renew within 6 months of the expiry. So you can get an email notification for this. You just need to enhance on the function, which is the less than or equal to current date. You have to specify minus 6 months kind of thing on that. So that function I'm going to cover in future videos on this topic. So the next thing here, we are going to cover the training evaluation. So right now, if you are giving a training for any users and you want to capture their information, then you can use of that. You can get an information about if the review from the user is less than 4 star, then you will get an email notification for this. So for this, you need to again click on the new, which I will click here. While this is opening, you can just click here. Let's edit this flow first. Okay, when a new response is submitted. So basically, I used here the form. Usually, surveys, everything comes under the form itself. We have a form on Microsoft as well, so I use that form here. So click here, new app. I mean the automation and then the cloud flow, and here it's an instant cloud flow. Or sorry, the automated cloud flow. And here we need to select here form. So when a new response is submitted, you can give it a name here. So I did here same thing here. When a new response is submitted, here we need to give the form name here. So this will going to give the list of forms which you have inside to your environment. So this is the training evaluation form which I created here. So how we can create a form? Basically, we just need to go here and go to options here, and then I need to look for apps, which is not showing up here. If I click here, explore all apps and all apps, and here we have forms. Got it. So here is the one which I have. If you want to create a new form or new quiz, you can also do it from here. So this is what I did, which is training evaluation, and I asked the user to enter the full name and enter the full name, email ID, and the course content and training expertise. So I just use a rating for this one to get a star rating for this. So these are the 4 information I try to capture, and also we can share this with other people. If you click on collect response, then it gives a message here, anyone can respond, only people in taik18 can respond, or specific people taik18 can respond. So this is a public one. So anyone can respond here. So actually, I'm just giving this link. I will also add this link into my video description so that you can also give me feedback on my videos here. You can just copy the link here, and then I will open an incognito mode. So this is my name. For example, I will add it here as Adnan, and then Adnan at taik18.com. And the course content, I will just review this to be 3 because I just want to highlight you the answer here. That's the reason. So I'll just use 3 here. But to be honest, you can do it on your own. So I have submitted the application. I mean, the form, I completed that. But if you come back to this Power Automate flow, so this is the one when a new response is submitted. This is the form name. And after that, click here and add an action. And if you click on form, here see more. Here it's a get response detail. So usually we will not get any information directly from this step, we need to add a get response detail step, and then we need to select the form ID, and the response ID we need to take it from this one when a new response is created here, right? So click on this one and we can take it from this option. So when a new response is submitted, so we can take it from this request ID. Generally, it's going to generate the information on this one. So we can make use of these variables here, or we can directly also do that. But just to have a safe side, I just use here the initialize the variables, or I just use here a click here and then add an action. I use here compose. So data operation compose basically. So when you click on the compose, it's going to ask you the information. So this is what I use here, the input, that's it. So I'm capturing this here lightning icon. I get response detail. Here we get all the informations, which is email, training expertise, full name, reader information, and course content, everything. So this is what I did here for this, but for the course rating and course expertise, because I'm capturing it from star rating, so we will not get information here. For this, we need to give an expression. So here how it can be done is basically we clicked here on the FX icon. So it will open up this function. Here we need to take this output, response details, body, and this is the one. So same thing how I did is basically, I just clicked here. Let me copy this first. Okay, so if I click here and lightning icon, and this is basically the course rating. So here course content, and then if I go to code view, then you see this is an input which is coming up here. And if I open up a notepad, and if you compare this with this one, so get response detail, and then we have this number, same thing. I just need to customize this little bit here in this case, and then I need to use other thing, which is showing up the body here, but we need to use the body here, and everything comes up here the same. So this is what we need to add as a kind of expressions. A little change here, that's why I'm showing up here how to do that. So add here, we'll add the same thing. We need to do it for the training expertise here. And here it has to be this one, body, and this is the name of that particular column. All right, so that's cool. So once it is done, and I'm using a condition here. So what is the condition here is basically I can click here, add an action, and here I use here to be control, and here it has to be condition of control. So once you do so, it is going to add this box and then true or false, both of them together. So under condition, I need to pass few values, which is showing up here. So this is, I'm taking this value from FX icon, I mean, sorry, the lightning icon, which is showing up here, training expertise and course rating, output and output from both of them. This is course rating and this is trainer expertise. So if both of them, it is not R, it is not and, it is actually or here. Either the training or the course content, if it is the rating is less than 4, less than or equal to 4, then it will send me a notification for this. So what it is, user rating name, output here, and the email ID of the user and the course content. We can also make use of enter here so that we can read it properly. Yeah, so user rating, so this has to be this one, user rating, and the name of the user, email ID of the user, and course rating, and the training expertise. So these are all things which we can customize based on our need, and it's going to send an email notification for us. This is what email, I mean, this is what alert. This actually sent me a mobile notification, which we used here earlier on this video. It's the same process. This will send me a mobile notification, or we can also customize based on the email. You can also use your email connector. So it can send an email to us. This is email, I mean, this has reviewed less of your training or your expertise kind of thing. So this is how you can get a response from your training evaluation. I request you all to please also give your response on my videos for this. All right, so the next thing what we have it here. So travel expenses we did here, training evaluation we did here, time tracker and task OT we did here, important email alert also done. So next thing here we have generate invoice, delete old files, controls office, and the calculator. Okay, so now we look for this calculator one, child and parent. This is an interesting topic for me. So what is a parent and child? It's basically we can call a child flow inside to a parent flow. So what is the use of this one? So usually what happens is like if you are making a process, like you want to delete files, right? For example, So you can make use of that one flow and in multiple flows, multiple people you can share this flow and they can reuse those flows for that. You don't need to build every time for each and every flow for this. For this, you need to just capture an input where you need to delete the file and they can pass that parameter and it's going to run this flow and it will delete that file from that particular location. That's how simple is that. That's the one best advantage for this. And another advantage is like if you are a shortage of license and you have one premium license and you want to use it for other things, like if you have a SQL connection and if you want to build a Word connection here, then you need to have a Power Automate premium license for this. The basic license, it will not work for you. In that case, you can buy a common license with a common email ID. Using that, you can buy a Power Automate premium license and build your flow for this, and you can reuse that flow so that that child flow will run based on that common email ID, and you can run your parent flow based on your user email ID. That's a free user what you can use here, basic user. So once you call that flow inside to your main flow, which is parent flow, the child flow will run based on your input and then it will do your job. That's how it will. This is the advantage of this one. That's an amazing concept. So first of all, we need to click on the child flow, for example, and then we'll build the parent flow here. So if I click on child flow, let me edit this flow, how it can be done. So basically this, both of them are here are used as a manually triggered flow itself, which is we can go it from this one, new, automation, cloud flow and instant cloud flow. So once you click on that, this will open up this Power Automate Designer. And here it will see manually triggered a flow. And if I expand this one, I used here give to two inputs here. Previously, we have seen it on the old designer and this is a new designer. This is how it will look like. Here we have added same option, add an input where you can select from multiple options. And here I use two input, which is the first number and second number. I just want to make a calculator here to add the value. It's a simple thing, but you can customize based on your need here. So the first number, so user I can capture from the input from the user, first number and second number here. So after that, I'm just capturing these two values in a variable, which is basically initialize a variable, add an action. And if I type here variable, we have an option here, initialize variable. So once you click on that, we need to give the name here and the type of the variable. And here we need to click here and lightning icon. We can take it from the manually triggered flow. That's it. So we have a first value. Similarly, we have the second value here. And here we need to add response to Power App, because if you're calling a child flow inside a parent flow, then it has to be in between the flow, right? In the parent flow. So you're taking an input from parent flow and do the process in the child flow and then respond it back to the parent flow. That's how it will work. So that's why we are getting an input from this parent flow. And finally, we are doing this calculation. And at the end, we are just responding to a Power App flow. So if I can click plus icon and then click on action and just type here respond. So here you can see respond to a Power App or flow. So this is what I selected here. So click here, then again it will have the same like what we have as an input. You can just select as a text here and used here as a text, or you can also use the number here. So this has to be result. And here what I use the function formula here, the calculation, which is I'm adding a variable of the first value and the second value here. So these are the two variables which are defined. So I'm just adding these two values inside to this one. So whatever the user use the input, I will just add those two values and then respond it back to the Power Apps. This is what a child flow does. Now let's have a look into the parent flow. So if I click on the parent flow now, okay, this is also the same thing which I use here, manually triggered flow. It can be automated flow or anything, but here I use manually triggered flow because I want to take the input from the user here, because I want the user to add pass two values, which is A and B. I just given a here, which is also a number here, same thing number. So these two values, and then under the plus icon, add an action, I used here as a run a child flow. So type here as a child, then this will give me option here, flows, run a child flow option here. I selected these options, run a child flow. Here in the drop down, I need to select the flows. These are all, it will show you the default, all the flows which you have. But here I use here as a child flow, and then it will populate the value which it has a requirement, the first value and second value. Here I need to click here and then lightning icon. I need to pass the value, which is A and B. I'm passing the values from here. And at the end, this is what I am. So we are getting a response And at the end, we are used the initialize variable because we are getting response from this child flow. We need to capture that value. So I use here add an action and then initialize a variable, which is coming from here, initialize a variable. So if I click here, I should give a name here, which is output, and this has to be integer. And if you click on this one, I need to take the value from outputs of the child flow body of the result here. So basically how it can be done is the same thing. If I copy this and then if I just click here, I need to take the run a child flow and result. So click here under the code view, I have this option here, body, run a child flow and result, and I don't have option to edit here. Okay, if I open up this notepad and paste here. So this is what the output here. So run a child flow, and then we need to use the body here and the result here. So similar slight change here, body it is initial here. So we need to add it at the end of this one and we can reuse this one. So this is because the return which is coming up here is actually text value. So we need to convert this into integer based on it. If you want to return this as a string, then you may not need to use that. You can directly consume that. So once you build on this, then you can test it out. So how it can be done is basically if I go back here and run this one. So this will ask you for the input. So let me give you a value here. I would like to give here 36 and here I want to give here as a 9 and then run flow. Done. And it is running here. If I click on this, it is succeeded for this one. So if I open up this history, then we'll see how it works. So now this is done. Now let's have a test this flow. So test here, manually option and test this option. And we can give it here as an 18 for this. And let me see if this goes minus as well. Yeah, that is cool. So minus 9, for example, and 18 and run a flow. Done. So here you can see the output on this every step where it is taken 18 and minus 9. And in the running of child flow, the result of this flow is 9 because 18 minus 9 is 9. That's great. And initially the variable, we get the value as 9. That's awesome. So if you want to redo this thing, I mean, re-edit, pass some other value. For example, if I test again here manually and test here, which I'd like to give here 15 plus 7 and run a flow. Done. And you can see the output here, which is 15 showing up here and 7 also. And run a child flow, which is showing up here value as 22. And initially the variable also we have a 22. That's beautiful. So this is how you can make use of parent and child hierarchy here. And right now I'm using it in both of them in my login. So that's why it is showing up here the owner to be my name. But here you can make use of other thing, which is child flow can be in another owner. It has to be just shared with this user. So right now you see it is showing up my name. So create it on a different email and then click on the share from the top menu. And here you need to share this with other people here. If you want to add a AD group, you can also make use of the AD groups here. That's how simple it is. So this is what we did here, parent child. So now we are going to cover a Contoso office, a kind of flow where actually let's assume that you have an office in multiple places and you want to get the capacity of each and every office on an every month. So it generates an Excel file from your ERP and it's saved on a SharePoint location. And from that location, you take the Excel file and add the calculations and send the information via email, the total number of capacity and biggest office number and biggest office name. So how you can do that in Power Automate? It's actually doing a kind of calculations inside the Power Automate. So we need to add here as a reoccurring basis. So we need to add here like add a new flow and then automation and also cloud flow, and it has to be scheduled cloud flow. So if you look into the Excel file, how that looks like, let me open up that. Let's close the other files here in order to save some space here. All right, so this is Contoso offices and we have multiple locations here and the capacity of each and every location here. Here also the same thing. For majority of the thing which you need to work in Power Automate and Excel, that Excel has a table, has to be one table and it easily reads those information from that. So table design and it is table 1. So that is what we are defined here. And inside to that only we need to have some data here. All right, so let me edit this flow and Here it has to be scheduled flow. It has to be generated on every month basis, for example. And this is a new designer of Power Automate. So it has a new reoccurrence, which is on every month. So we can define the time as well. So every month it can reoccur the event. And after that, we need to define certain few variables. One is total capacity, another is biggest capacity, and the biggest capacity number and biggest capacity office name. So to do that, we just need to add variable, which is we can click on plus sign, add an action, and then variable, which is initialize a variable, and this one. If you set that initialize a variable, then we can give it a name here as a total capacity, and the type to be integer, initial value is 0. Similarly, we need to create for the biggest capacity as well as biggest office. For biggest office, we can set the type here as a string, and the value can be null. I mean the blank value here. But actually, these both of them has to be after the Excel file, which you can see it here on the screen. So after total capacity, we need to add an action, which is list rows present in a table. So if you're watching this video since the beginning, then you might aware of how you can add that here, but still I will have to show you here. Plus icon, add an action. So here you can just type here Office Excel, which is Excel Online Business. And if I click on see more, then you will see an option which is list rows present in a table. So that is what it is. And if I click here, then I need to select the location, the document library, and where is the file location. You can click on this folder, then you can select the files from here. And also inside to that Excel file, what is the table you need to select here. And if you want to do any kind of filtration, you can also do it from the OData query here. So I did here everything, and also initialize the value here. And now we need to calculate the total capacity of our offices. So we need to summarize those offices. If you look into here, we need to add 100 plus 250 plus 80 plus. So we can do it here in Excel. You can just type the formula here, but how it can be done in Power Automate is basically using loop option. So we need to create a loop here. That is the reason we use an apply for each. And after that, we need to add an increment variable. You can do it in a two-way basically, which is if I click on add an action here and add an action, and then if I use increment variable, which is basically is going to add the values inside to that. So here I need to select total capacity, and the value it has to be, I need to click on the lightning symbol, and this has to take from where? I need to take this value from this list of row values, which is not showing up here. And because of this, usually it should show here, but somehow it is not showing up here. If this doesn't work, we can use this approach like apply to each option. You can click on, let me delete this one. You can click on plus sign, and then you can click on add an action, and here you have a control. Inside to the control, we have apply to each. This is actually act as a loop for this one. So everything it will apply. So this is create a new thing here, and inside to that we can use increment variable. And if I click on this one and lightning symbol, here we see this option current item apply to each. And I applied here the formula, which is basically integer. I'm converting the capacity column into integer, and items open and close bracket question mark, item open and close bracket question mark, and then within a square bracket I need to specify the column name. So item refers to within the apply each what is the item, and inside to that we are referring to this particular column and converting this into integer column. So this is what we are defining it here. So this is going to add on the value if every loop for this one. So that is one job. Another thing here, we need to find the biggest capacity, right? So for this, we need to add a condition here. So how it can be done? Basically, we can do it manually using Excel file. We can sort it everything together. But if you want to go through an automation process, then this will take some time. I mean, to do some steps here. So here we need to add a condition. Again, add the plus icon, add an action, and under control, we need to add a condition here. So what is the condition here is basically, we are adding it here, the biggest capacity, which is this variable, what we have created here on the top, right? Biggest capacity is lesser than the one which is the same value which we have used here on the increment variable. So what we are saying here is on every loop, we are assigning right now the biggest capacity here is 0 at the initial phase. And then we are checking this condition here. The 0 is less than, for example, if it is going through this phase, which is 100 and 250, right? First is 100. So if it is going through 100, if 0 is less than 100, it is true or false? It is actually false because 100 is greater than that. If it is true, if it is, if sorry, 0 is less than 100, yeah, 0 is less than 100. If it is true, then it will be add here. If it is not, then it will go to the false section. So what is the true statement here? In the true statement, I have used the same here, but instead of this here, what I used here as the biggest capacity. I'm using everything the same. The formula remains the same here. Expression remains the same. But here I changed the biggest capacity. Now the 0 will change into 100 initially. That's the one which we have the value 100 and 250. Yeah. So 100 we have. So this will be update as what is a value? This will update a value as 100. Sorry, this should not be increment variable. This has to be set variable. Delete this one. I will copy this and paste here. We can copy and paste the steps here. So this is going to add a variable. So we can also rename it here. This has to be set biggest capacity. And here I will select this here as the biggest capacity. And in the value section, if I click on this one, here I need to set up some value, which is the formula which we have used here. It should be the same thing. You can just copy and paste the formula here and set up here, enter the value, and the function, you can paste it here and add. This is the one, biggest capacity. And here it has to be set biggest office. So if we need to select here as the biggest office, and here if I click on the value, and now I can able to see this one. Okay, so one of the reason why it is not showing up on the previous step, but it is showing up here is because this is a text here. So that's why we can able to see that. So whatever which comes up on the list rows present in a table, it actually defines as the text on that Excel sheet. So that's why it is showing up here on the Excel column. And now it is not showing up on the integer one, integer thing. So that's why it's not showing up here. And because of that, we need to use the formula here as this expression, which is integer item, open and close bracket, question mark, and within that square bracket, we need to specify the column name. Okay, so we are setting up this biggest capacity. Now what will happen is this will loop again to the next office, and in the next office, it has a value of 250. So this will add up value 100 plus 250, and then it will check for condition here. If this one, which is 100 at the moment, is lesser than 250. If it is lesser than 250, then it will come up here. Then this will set the value as 250 for this variable. And here this will check the value of what is the city, which is basically as of now it is Brussels. So, and then it will loop back again. And here it will be added to be 80. That's the third value which we have. And third value, this is going to add up here 100 plus 250, 350 plus 80, 430 will be the value of this one. And on the condition one, this will check for this value. This is 250 now, and it is lesser than 80. No, actually, that's a false statement. So if it is false, then this will go to on this side, and this is not going to do any work because we have not defined any task here. So this will look back again, and this will look for the fourth value, which is here 200. So unless and until we found some value, then until then it will run. I mean, whatever the values which we have. If it is true, then only it will come. If it is false, then it will not loop here. So once it is runs everything, and finally what we have used here to send an email. So you can use here to send an office email or Outlook or Gmail. So here I use the Gmail here. I am sending it to myself, and then we can define the CC, everything. That's the same thing. And also we can customize the body of the message as per our need. So here office detail, total capacity, biggest office, biggest capacity, and then here. So the value we can define it here. Everything here is the text one. And then we need to click here and click on this lighting symbol, and you will see these variables here. So we can select one by one based on our need here. So once this is run, save this one, and then let's test out this flow. Yeah, test this one manually and test. Run this flow. Done. The flow is running now. It is going into the loop one by one. Yeah, all good now. Now, if I expand this email, so we can see the result here, what it has generated. And now if you see, it is showing as Toronto and it is showing as 400. And the total capacity is 1607. If we look into that Excel, 400 is Toronto. Toronto is a 400. That's absolutely right, which is showing up the value on this one. And if I open up my email now, yeah, you see the total capacity is 1607, biggest office is Toronto, and biggest capacity is 400. That's absolutely beautiful. So this is how you can able to take an Excel file and make your calculations in Power Automate and then send an email or alert to your colleagues. Okay. So the next thing what we can do here is using an API. So for example, if you want to get an weather notification for a certain place, then how it can be done. It's a similar thing we need to ask. Why I use this one is basically because we need to create an account and we also need to get an API key for this one. And with the key itself, we can able to get the information from this API. So there are free APIs available, but majority of them, if you're using officially, then you need to buy some license for that and they will provide you a key and you need to use that key to get a response from that. So that's what we can use it from AccuWeather, which is the one which we are used here. If I click here, this has used here as a kind of schedule flow on every day. I need to get the weather report for me. So that's what I have planned here. So to do that, we need to do certain things at the beginning of this one. First of all, we need to go to this developer.accuweather.com and then we need to register ourselves so that we can get our API keys for ourselves. And all right, so if you look into this notepad here, so I added the necessary informations what I need to add. And then I got this few information about this one. This is an app we need to create. And it depends actually company to company how we need to do the process. But the main thing is we need an API key. So that's simple as that. And we need to get an documentation, everything they will provide some documentation. So if you look into this automation flow, so I used here as a manually triggered flow. I can also do whenever I need. And after that, I need to click on add an action. And after that, we need to use HTTP. So the HTTP here refers to calling an API reference for us. And if you look into here, HTTP, we have multiple things. We just need to use the plain HTTP. So once I click on that, we have multiple options here. First of all, we need to provide the URI, which is available on this service. I mean, in the AccuWeather, it depends on company to company where you are getting this API reference URI. And this is the location for where I have, which is Ambur. And here the method, I want to get the information. And if there are any headers available, then we need to provide the header here. Some of them require the header, some of them may not. So here we don't need that. And here also we have API key. And this is the API key where we need to provide that information. Without the API key, this will not going to give any information output here. So these are all information we need to pass here. And after that, we need to use a fresh JSON. So that is a JSON result. It will come up from this one. And here is the default JSON which comes up. It has also given on the website. So we can also use that. And here on the content side, I just used here run and use the body of this HTTP here. Even if you don't find the content, no need to worry about that. You just add a body here and run this flow. Then it's actually give you error message because the schema and the body will not match. In that case, you need to run this flow and then it will give you the input. This is the result actually it has received. You just need to copy that and paste here in the schema again, then it will work. So that's how it will be. So I will show you in a moment how to do that. So after adding a JSON here, then you need to use here action apply to it because it has multiple things inside to that. But if you want to extract something inside to this one, then you just need to use add an action, which is compose here. So once you click on that, it has a body text here where you can use any of the information here. If I click on this plus sign, then it gives me about in the phrase JSON, we have these many informations captured, precision type, weather icon, weather text. So whatever we want, we can add, so use it here. So once you run on this one, then it will give you the result here. Let's try this now. So testing this app manually test here. All right, this has generated. Now, if I click on one of step by step here, this is the service and this is the API key. And if you see, this is the result. You just need to copy this result. This is the body of the phone, right? You just need to copy and then add here inside to the input schema of the phrase JSON. That's it. So right now, today's temperature here, you can see 29.5 degrees Celsius highest. So that's what it can say here. And I think lowest is 17 for today. Yeah, that's good. We are on winter season. So that's why it is showing up here. And we get this information into Compose. Yeah, this is what the result which we have got here. We can make use of this result and do as per our need. This is just an example how we can get the API call using Power Automate. All right, the next one is also one of them is my favorite, which is basically to generate an invoice. There are certain requirements are there where you need to get the information from an Excel file and you need to generate a PDF out of that using that and send an email to the user. If that's the case, then you need to do certain steps. First of all, you need to have a Word template, which is similar to like this, for example. So this is the template of Word document. You can see it here. We have this, for example, this is from, and we have this our address here, and this is the heading of this. And build to, we have a company name, street address, and city, and zip, and invoice here. And at the bottom, we have the description and amount. So we actually need to do a few things here, which is first of all, you need to open up that file. And you see this file looks a little bit different. This is another file. But what we need to do here, first of all, if I go back to the previous file, you need to open up file and then options. In this one, if you go to this advanced, customize ribbon, and here on the right side, you see this developer option. You just need to tick this on. So once you tick on this, you will get a new option tab on your ribbon. So here is the main thing. So what you need to do here, this is the one which you need to add in the controls. So click on the company name, and then you need to click on this option, which is the plain text. So click here, it will add the plain text here, and then you need to click on property next step. Here you need to give a name, which is basically I would like to give here as company, and then click on OK. And here you need to click on address. Again, go to this one, same thing, and then click on property. And on the title, you need to give here as address. I'm just giving you this example. We need to use the same thing on your thing as well. So here we need to use the city. Again, click on this one, go to the properties and use city here. That's it. And if you want to add few more like zip code, you can also do that. And here you can just click here again, go to this one, add this one and property. This has to be invoice number. And click on OK. And then at the bottom, you have description. So usually the invoice will have a single value for company and invoices. But whereas the description, it can contain multiple items and then multiple amounts will be there. So it will be multiple line of records. So for this, you need to add, first of all, a repeater control. You just need to select, first of all, create a table as a template, how you look like here on the word. And then select this row, entire row here. After that, you need to add this one, which is repeating section control. Click on this one, it will be add a repeating section. You just need to go to property and give it a name here, repeater 1 or whatever it user defined name here. And then you need to click here the first column. You need to go here, add again this value, which is plain text here. This has to be item. So go to the property and give it a name here as item and then click on OK. And here you need to come to this second column, click below to the amount and then click here again the label and then the property, give it a name here as amount and click on OK. So two things we added here. Now the next thing is we need to add the signature. For this, you need to click on below to this any plain area. And after that, you need to click on this image here. You see picture content control. So click here and then same go to properties. It has to be my sign. I'm just giving it a name here and then click on OK. So you see it is added here. Everything looks good. Now, yeah, all good now. If I zoom out here and if I go back to my other file, you can also see the similar thing here. And if for you just to showcase here, this is the name I have given as company, and this is street, this is city, and this is zip code, and this is invoice, and this is here amount, and this is line items name, and here is the product. This is what the name I have given here. So you need to save this file, doc file, into your SharePoint location, and then we need to open up the Power Automate flow, which is here, generate invoice. So if I click here, and while this is loading, if you look into this Excel file, we have this Excel file where it contains two tables. One is this contains the invoice detail, another it contains the breakup of those invoices. So we have it here, invoice 1, invoice 2, and details of those two invoices are here. That's how it is. And also if I click on table design, this is invoice line. And then if I click here, this is invoices. These are the two table names what we have. And if I go back to this Power Automate flow and then edit, this can be instant load flow wherever we need, whenever we need, we can use that. All right, so this is a manually triggered flow, that's right. And first of all, we need to get the content using the file path, which is basically, if I expand here, this I'm taking the picture actually. So we need to add the sign as well as an image. So you need to save that file as an image here, which is actually available on this location. So that is what I used here. We can click on add an action, get file using content path. So we can use here get file content, get file content using this path. This is what we need to use here. So the next thing here, we need to get the list of rows available on that Excel file on the two tables, invoice and invoice list. So for this, we need to get this option here, get an action, which is list rows present in a table, which is available on the invoice Excel file on invoice table. And the invoice detail we can use at the later stage here. And then I'm using this initializing a variable where I'm using array for invoice details to get all the detail of that particular invoice on an array. So I just initialize here, which is the usual way we need to define it about to this loop here. So now we are using apply to each loop, which is basically the body of this invoice body here. All right. So and then we are setting up this variable here, which is array invoice detail open and close bracket. And inside to this, we are just adding up another action, which is list rows present in a table. And here we are using the invoice lines here. So once you use that, and again, we are using the loop here because invoice table contains multiple records. So we need to loop that. And inside to that, we have invoice detail and it also contains multiple records. So we need to loop that. So that's why we are using a to loop here, apply to each. And here we are going to use the action as, if I click here, the action is basically refers to the invoice detail coming up from this detail one. All right, so this is the one. And now we are using append to array variable, which is basically I am selecting this variable, array here, array variable. And we need to define a JSON value, which is open and close curly bracket. Inside to that, we need to add the product and amount. This name has to match the name on the Excel file property. On the Word template, which we have used the controls, right? So that template value has to match here. Then only it will link to that. So the product here, amount here, and we need to click on this icon and lightning icon. We need to call here the product and the amount from this table. So after looping this array here, what we need to do? We need to just pass those information to the Word document. So here we need to create get action. And if I go to Word here, yeah. So basically the name here refers to Word Online for Business. Here we have option populate a template, Word template. So we need to select these options. So once you select this one, we need to pass many informations where here we need to select the location, document, and the template file. So once you do so, click on show all. This will give the list of available things which we need to pass the value. So for company here, it is going to be, we are under the loop of this invoice. So it will be one company, one street, one city, and one zip and one invoice will be there. So that's why we need to use here, click here and then click on the lightning icon, so that we need to pick the information from the invoice table, not from invoice detail, from invoice table. So we need to pick all this information here on each and every section. But for the signature, we can just click here and then use the information from the one which we have used here, get content from file path. And here, if you click here, then we need to pass here the file content. If you see this one, the line item is showing up in a different manner. The reason is because we use the repeater control in the Word template, and that's why it is showing up like this. And here we need to pass the array variable on this one, on this part. So that's what we clicked here, and then array invoice detail. Usually at the beginning, it will be look like a bit different. If I click here on this one, and this is actually show us the information about like this, product one and amount one kind of thing. We need to add the pass value multiple times. But here we have the information on array. So, and also the array is made on the JSON with the product and amount information. So that's why we need to click here, switch input to entire array. So click here on this view, and then instead of this value, we need to pass the values from coming from this invoice detail. So click here, it's going to apply the same logic here. So that's the use of switching between the controls and the array value. So we need to do this step, and finally what it will do here is this is going to create a file. So for this, we need to use an option here, plus icon, and then add an action, create a file will be an action. If you click on this one, then we need to pass the site address and the folder location. And here we need to pass the file name. The file name will be, I just use here as a test, and then the current date and time .docx. As an extension, we need to add manually here. And in the file content, we need to click here and the lightning icon. We need to pass MS Word document here from populated Word template. So this is going to convert this into a Word document. And if you want to do further more steps, like you want to convert this Word into PDF, and you need to save this PDF into SharePoint again, and then you need to delete the Word document, and then you need to send an email. So for that, multiple steps you can also do in top of this one. So I'm saving this one, and then if I test this flow, we'll see how this will look like. Test this one and then manually test. And run the flow. So this is going to generate the flow, and this will loop together. While this is running, let's go to this Power Platform location. All right, if I click here near to older, now see it has generated a few seconds ago. So clicking on this one, I should see all the information here. Now you see it has added the name of the company and also the street name and also the address here and invoice number and the detail of the description and also the sign. That's how amazing it can generate this information here. And we can also do further more steps here, like we can export this into PDF and then send an email to the each and every customer. So this is how you can able to extract the information from our source and do this template using Word document and export into PDF as an invoice and send it to the supplier or customers. So this is how the process how we need to do that. Now the next thing here is, as we are keep on adding up this file, we are going to add the files in the SharePoint. So we don't need those files, right? In that case, we can just delete the old files, which is available on our SharePoint location. To do that, we need to click here as a kind of every regular basis. You can do it here every month kind of thing. So you can delete those SharePoint unnecessary files. To clean up those process, you need to create a scheduled flow where you need to select the location of your SharePoint and then you need to delete the content of the file. So to do that, we need to use the regular reoccurrence flow, and then we need to click here, add an action, which is, first of all, we need to get file properties only. That's a kind of action in SharePoint, get files. And if you see, we'll see the properties only. This is going to just return the properties of that particular SharePoint. I think we don't need this one. So let's click here to delete. Okay, the one which is available, I need to pass the informations here, which is site address and then the document library. And if you expand this one, it has multiple options where I can just filter it out. So if you want to filter the last 7 days of the data, for example, then you can also define that. So here I use created is basically the column name. GT is greater than, and then I'm using this here add this. So during the initial of this window, I mentioned about we are going to show it on this video, right? So this is how you need to define the add days, like in the document expiry or the task expiry thing, right? Task due thing. If you want to add days on the date one, then you need to use this function, which is add days, open bracket, and then pass your date column with a conversion of standard format, and then comma -1. I'm just using it to be -1 day, comma G. G is going to return you the actual, the standard date and time for this one. So that's the way how you need to do that. So I'm just asking now to take the file which is available less than 1 day, right? Greater than 1 day kind of thing. Created date should be greater than yesterday. So this will give me the list of available files, and now just taking this value, I initialize a variable just to count the files. This is not a mandatory thing. I'm just using it for my purpose. I'm just initializing a variable. I hope now you're aware how you can use the initializing a variable. So name, type here, and then I need to use a loop here. Definitely there will be multiple files inside to that SharePoint location. So you need to use apply to each function, a step action here, and here we need to pass the body of these files, get files. So once you do so, I use here again incremental variable options where we can add on the value, which is increment the value 1. And then we need to check the file which is available on that particular use. We have action here to delete a file, add an action here, delete a file. Here we need to again pass the SharePoint, and here we need to get the identifier. So this can be accessible from this menu. And here you see get files property only. You may not see it here, but you need to click on see more, and then only you can able to see the identifier here, value that can be used in file related actions for selecting a file. So that is the reason we need to use identifier, not the ID of this one. Okay, so we need to use here and then delete a file, and it will delete the file here. And now initializing a variable is just the file count. I'm just showing up here value. That's it. Now if I save this flow and test this, we'll see how this will work. And now overall, if you see here, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 files are here. We'll see now. And if I go back here, test this one. If I click on this one, this has generated a value, initializing a variable, and finally you see this is showing us 2 now. And if I go back to this one, and if I refresh this page, now it has deleted the files which we created just now. You see all of them dates here as modified here. So it means, and you can see the value is showing up here as 2. So the parameter which I set up here is basically it has to be greater than yesterday date, right? So whatever we did today is going to delete those files. And recently we exported 2 files using our export invoice option, which is not available here. So this is how you can able to delete those files. And you need to pass the reverse way, that last 30 days. Actually, that's the right way. Instead of 1 day, which I did here, right? You need to use 30 days if you want to delete from the last 30 days value. So this is how you can able to use this delete function in order to delete your files in SharePoint. All right. I hope you got a lot of information using this video about how you can use Power Automate and what are the things we can utilize inside to this. There are many things which I covered which we can use on a day-to-day activities. And if you like this video, just hit the big thumbs up button. If you are new to this channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, just hit the big subscribe button so that it can help me to grow further in YouTube. And also share this with other people so that they can also get aware of Power Automate flow. Thanks for watching. Keep learning. See you in the next video.